This is an all-in-one section where I'm going to be showing you different sewing ethics with this style. Sewing on a bias, I'm going to be showing you 2 ways for this. To make things much more easier, it's good for you to mark the measurement of where you want to fix your bias and draw a straight line so that you can follow it. Now you can place your bias to slightly cover the line and sew straight up. But if you know your hand is going to be shaky, you can pin it or use your hemming gum to gum it. Now it's gum, you can easily sew it without it shaking. Long sleeve with an elastic band. Now let's understand the measurement. This style works with 2 measurements, the fitting measurement and the loose measurement. The material carries the loose measurement, as you can see is 5.5, and when I measure my hand round it gives me 11. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. For the fitting measurement we are working with 8.5. Mark the 8.5 on your band and add 1 inch for joining allowance. Turn your band to the back, sew it by 1/2 inch and weave it. This is how it looks after joining and weaving it. Now I want you to mark the first 2 middle of your band. After getting that part, use the first 2 middle of your band to get the 3rd, 4th middle of your band. If your marks are not clear, you can take your time now and make it clear. Watch closely to see how I easily notch the 4 sides for my hand. I didn't notch the joining line because it's clearly visible that that's part of the middle. When sewing the hand and band together, it's good to start by placing the 2 joining lines together. You're going to start by sewing the 2 joining lines together, and as you sew, you want to connect the 2 marks you made from the band and to the hand together. You see the way I'm dragging it? So that's how you're going to be dragging it when sewing, to connect the lines to make everywhere equal. In a situation whereby you're fixing a lining, you want to first start by joining the side of the hand, and then you get the middle of the hand, just like the way we did for the other one. As you can see, the joining allowance is inside, which means this is the front of the lining. Now I want you to take it like that inside the already made hand. While doing this part, make sure you place the joining for your lining at the same place the joining for your band is at. When sewing, use the marks you made on the lining to line it up with the hand, and also it's very helpful to sew on the thread line of the already made ones you already sewed, so that everything just blends in. After sewing, you want to turn it inside out and put the lining inside. Long sleeve with lining. Let's start by understanding the measurement. Through my measurement, we were working with 9.5 inches, but when cutting it out, you add an extra 1 inch to it to make it 10.5 inches, and that's how we get the width. Getting the length, just make use of 3.5 inches. At the moment, I don't have a harder interfacing, so I'm going to be doubling my paper gum interfacing to make it hard. Honestly speaking, this part does not need anything too hard, something solid and comfortable. Now I want you to place the navy blue material on the white material and sew around this part I'm pointing, but you see this side, don't sew it, and after you finish sewing, you should have something like this. Take your time to trim the excess out, turn it inside out and iron it, and after ironing it, I sewed on top of it. Because our cuff is 9.5 inches, for the bottom part of our sleeve we are making use of 12.5 inches, which is 3 inches extra. 2 inches is mainly for pleating allowance and 1 inch is for joining allowance. And if you're to cut 2 of this hand, it's good for you to place the material facing opposite sides and cut them together. The F mainly means the side that faces the front when you wear it, and B mainly means the side that faces the back when you wear it. Let's start by marking 2.5 inches. And this 1/2 inch is just for joining allowance, so we can easily calculate things clearly. This part I'm marking and taking 1/4 inch out of it. I'm marking it so that I can reserve space for it. Our goal now is, after pleating and reserving our joining allowance space, we want to come out with 9.5 inches. While measuring, when you get to that 1/4 inch side, you want to move your work a bit by 1/4 inch and get the complete measurement. You can see clearly it gave us 9, so we are going to reduce the pleating a bit to see how we can give us 9.5 inches. Now you have gotten 9.5 inches, iron your pleating so we don't lose it. Watch closely to see how I get the pleating for the lining. After getting the pleating for the lining, it's good for you to pin that side and sew it just to hold it perfectly well. Now you want to place the both front sides together. This part we are working with 4 inches, which is mainly this side we marked. This side I have a chalk, add a paper gum interfacing to this side. It holds your material from easily tearing, and add it to the lining side too. It's very helpful to add a paper gum interfacing when sewing this part to make your work much more clean. Now you want to pin both materials because you're going to be sewing them together. You can still sew without a hemming gun, but be careful. When cutting this part, you want to cut it very close to the end, but don't break a thread. This is part of the reason why I was saying gum a paper gum interfacing at the 2 parts to hold your material from fraying. Now you can turn your work inside out. I know this might start looking weird, but watch closely and you understand. Grab the navy blue style just the way I'm holding it and sew 1/2 inch straight. Do the same thing to the white side and sew 1/2 inch straight. Not to the ending, but at least to this point. And after sewing that part, this is how weird it should look like. Take your time to arrange it and make sure the front of your cuff is facing the front of your hand material. Now we're going to place the cuff in between the joining line of the hand and pin it. Take your time and pin it until you get to the end of the other joining line. And after pinning everywhere, it should look like this. Now you go to your sewing machine and sew 1/2 inch straight up. This is the part where we turn it inside out to see the result. Now we're going to sprinkle a bit of butter and iron this part so that the white lining doesn't come out, and thanks to the hemming gum, it's going to hold it from turning out. Feel free to sew the edges of that part to hold it too. After ironing, I added a button so that I can see how the full look looks like. And this is the basic knowledge you need to make a long sleeve like this. This is where I share the basic knowledge on how to fix a long sleeve with a bonus of a long sleeve with a lining. And now we're going to be joining the shoulder of the shirt together, and this is also the lining for the shirt. This is what it looks like after joining the shoulders. To get the point at which your shoulder starts from, you need to place this armhole point together and iron it. Something you should take note of before joining a long sleeve hand: if you're joining a short sleeve, you can join it anywhere you want, but when it comes to the long sleeve hand, you need to be very intentional when joining it, because if you watch where, you can join it here, but if you turn it to the other side, you can't join it to the other side, because now the button is facing front, whereby the button is meant to be at the back. But for other long sleeve that doesn't have a specific front or back, you can put them anywhere you want, left or right. Just like this long sleeve that have an elastic band, you can put it wherever place you want without any issue. Now we have that knowledge. For us to join the sleeve, you want to place the middle of your sleeve on the ironing line of the shoulder we made together. Now you want to sew 1/2 inch from that middle down to the end point, and come back again to that middle and sew 1/2 inch down to the other points you didn't sew. If your hand is a bit shaky, you can use a pin to hold the middle points together so that you know everything is in line. When sewing a sleeve, you want to make sure the two materials you are joining together laps together as you sew. So immediately you sew to a certain extent, you stop and arrange your work so that everything laps perfectly well. Watch closely and you'll understand what I mean. And after sewing the two sides, you should have something like this. When joining the lining, you're still going to take same process, but something you should pay attention to is you want the rough side to be inside while the clean side to be outside. Take your time to watch closely and you will understand what I mean. And after sewing, you can clearly see the joining line for the lining is inside while the clean side is outside. And now with the same knowledge, you're going to use it to fix the other sleeve. It might feel tricky or overwhelming, but you got this. This is what you should have after sewing both sides. And that's the basic knowledge you need for fixing a sleeve. That's me just trimming out the little excess left in my sleeve. My initial plan was to make this jacket short with a short zip, but I realized that we face challenges with this black zip, so I'm going to tackle it today. Now I'm going to join this material together to add up to the length. And now we're going to be joining the sides together. Let's start by turning it inside out. And if this is a shirt for someone, as we turn it like this, you're going to mark the chest measurement, the stomach measurement, and follow that thread line from the joining and sew down. And that same thing you do on the lining, follow that joining line from the sleeve and sew down. Do the same thing too to the other sleeve, but leave a gap of 5.5 inches. Later in the future, we are going to be using it to turn our jacket. And you're only giving this space in one side in the jacket, which is only this spot in the lining. And after sewing, this is the outcome I want you to have. And now let's turn it inside out. For people in a situation whereby they want to shorten the length of their jacket but they are too scared to do it, this part is for you. Start by pinning the shoulder of the main clothes to the lining together, and then you pin your neck around so that everything balances well. Now you want to use one of your hands to hold the top part of your shirt and use the other hand in pushing out any excess out. Place the tape at the top part of your shoulder and mark down to where you want your measurement to be at and mark it. And now you can easily cut it out because you know you pushed out all the excess. Always have it in mind, these 2.5 inch I'm marking, the zip is going to eat it out. So when measuring your neck, make sure you start from 1/2 inch, round it and stop at the other 1/2 inch. One thing you should always have in mind is you always want the lining and the main cloth to be the same size. For the people stressing because they want to trim their neck, but at the same time they want the lining and the main material to be equal, just adjust your pins to the back and trim easily. It's time for us to cut the middle of the shirt where the zip is going to be sitting on. I'm not cutting it randomly, I'm following the middle ironing line of the shirt. Now, how to sew a jacket neck. With knowledge from this, you can also use it to fix a hood or any color of your choice. Why I started at that chock and ended at the other chock is because the 1/2 inch left is for the zip allowance. We're working with a neck of 16 inches. This is a folded material of a length of 2 inches and a width of 16.5 inches, but it's good for yours to be 17 so that you have enough allowance. When folded, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and for the slanting at the bottom, I used 1/4 inch. The ending and the beginning of where the curve started was 1.5 inch. Add a paper gum interfacing to it to make it a bit solid. And sew round this side I'm pointing after that. You want to turn it inside out and iron it flat. Lap the two sides of the collar together to get the middle. Then place the middle at the middle of your jacket. To keep everything intact, I pinned everywhere so that I can easily sew. For now, we won't join the neckline yet, we'll do it later. This is the part where I show you how to fix a jacket waistband. Let's start by measuring 3 inches at both sides. Placing the elastic on the line and stretching it to your taste gives you a clear idea on how tight or how loose you want the elastic to be. And now you want to do a joining allowance of 1 inch or 1/2 inch. For the material we are joining the band to, we are going to be working with the length of the band, and for the width, we are working with 4 inches. After joining both sides, this is how it looks like. Now you want to fold the two sides and iron it. Let's start by pinning the band. I prefer pinning from the first two sides close to the elastic. After doing that part, I stretch the elastic and pin it at the middle. And now you can sew straight up. When you get to the elastic part, stretch it so that it aligns with the main material. And after sewing, this was what I got. Later we are going to fix that side for the lining. Let's focus on fixing the zip. Now let's fix a zip for a jacket. The zip is going to start from the ironing line of this jacket to the top. To make things much more easier, pin the zip. And this is the hardest part in this zip, which is this head. The only way to easily get it is to slowly sew, and sew that part with your presser foot lever up. So while you're doing that, you want to be controlling it with your hand while sewing. So you're going to be sewing slowly, and try your best to go back again to sew that side like twice or thrice. It's going to take a long while, but it's going to give you the precise thing you want, so that when you come out from that side that is high, you can now put your presser foot down and sew your zip straight up without stress. This is the neck part, and you want to make sure your zip laps on the half-inch line that you made for it. This is the outcome after sewing the first part of the zip, and you can see how close I sewed the zip. Fixing the next zip might be a bit tricky because this jacket has too many joining and it has a design. So for you to do that, you need to take your time to pin everything in line. Based on the same knowledge you use in fixing the first part of the zip, do the same thing to the other part and you're good to go. And this is how it came out after sewing. It gives you this peace of mind when you see everything lines up perfectly well. Now let's join the neck of the lining. You want to start by pulling the lining and the material to two opposite sides. This part is going to be very tricky, so watch closely. Now you have the space, you're going to hold the two necks together and join them together just the way you see me do it. To make things much more easier, I pinned everywhere so that you can sew half-inch straight up. When passing the zip part, sew slowly so you don't break your needle. After sewing the neck, it should look like this, and when you turn it inside out, this is the outcome. Let's join the band and the bottom of the lining together. Same knowledge you use in fixing the band, that's same knowledge you use in fixing this part too. If you know you need to pin your work, make sure you pin your work and sew straight up. After sewing that part, let's join the lining to the zip. And now we're going to start sewing from the neck down to the middle part of the band where the zip stopped. Repeat same thing for the second part of the zip. Most of the time when you sew and turn for curvy places like neck, it might not want to balance, but when you notch it the way I'm notching it, it balances. Try not to break a thread while doing it. Now you've sewed everywhere, the only place we can turn it inside out is from this opening we left in the lining. To keep the band steady, we will have to top stitch on the band. For us to close the hole, we first start by ironing the two joining sides at the opening. Fold the sides just the way I'm folding it and iron it. We're going to be using the ironing line as a roadmap when sewing by hand. For the needle, double the thread and knot the bottom. Pass the needle from the bottom and use your ironing line as a guide. Now pass your needle to the opposite side, same way I'm passing mine. Make sure while passing the needle to the other side, it's straight, because we should be having a ladder effect at the end of everything. With this same pattern, do it to the end, but don't drag to tighten anything yet until you reach the end. If yours was straight like I said you should do it, you should have a ladder effect like this. And please don't just drag the ending of your thread like this, if not it's going to come out very bad. Instead, drag half of the ladder. When everything is good to your satisfaction, you drag the end point and everything will come out clean. And now for us to lock the thread, watch closely to see how I lock it. If you watch closely, you're going to notice I'm passing the needle through a thread. Watch closely at this part, and after doing the first one, do a second one and even do a third one to make sure your thread is strong. And after cutting your thread, you should have something like this. And now I want you to specifically iron the neck part and your zip part in the jacket, because we are going to be top stitching around it. This is the outcome of the top stitching. This is the outcome of the jacket, and thanks to this same jacket, we are able to learn different sewing ethics that are going to help you in different ways.